appearances from 2006 to 2008. He's in his 10th year at his alma mater, with a record of 58-37. Eagles are 2-2 on the season, and they will host the aforementioned Belle Chasse Cardinals Saturday at Hoss-Metzer Stadium. Please give a warm New Orleans Quarterback Club welcome to Scott Bairnsfather of the Shaw Eagles. Scott?
Thank you, Ken. First of all, I'd like to say one day it will be my dream to be an administrator at either Rummel or Jesuit so I can come to these things every week. I don't ever come here without a Rummel or Jesuit representative. So I appreciate what you guys do at your school all day, whatever that may be. Secondly, I'd also like to say that I'm glad I'm here this week because Aspen Gaines from Belle Chasse may go back-to-back Prep Player of the Week, and I wouldn't want to be responsible for his 2 in a row Gaines and a Prep Player of the Week for WGSO. Also, pretty much the 2 guys up here that are smiling really good are the Saints guy and the LSU guy, so they'll probably have a lot more fun of things to say than I would, coming off a loss against St. Augustine. The way our season has gone so far is we had trouble with the weather in the beginning. First week we were supposed to play Rummel and it got canceled when they shut down the stadiums for that Saturday, that Friday night and that Saturday, so that was very disappointing for us and for Rummel as well. Win, lose, or draw, we probably both needed to play because we have some young kids that were starting for the first time. I have a young quarterback that was starting for the first time, and every snap that he can take is better for our team in the long run. We won a game the second week, lost to a very good Jesuit team who is, I tip my hat to them. They lost a lot of guys from last year's team and really have come back and opened up just as strong as they did last year and beat us. And then we beat Holy Cross the third week and then had a disappointing loss for us against St. Augustine this past weekend. We had a couple of guys get injured in the first quarter. We had trouble sustaining drives on offense, and we have trouble with tackling. A guy who's bigger than everybody on my team, their running back, Leonard Fournette, who is probably going to be spoken of a lot from this podium over the next couple of years. And as I told Coach Baggio, I would be very surprised if the kid from St. Aug's not the best player in the country in 2 years. In fact, unless he gets hurt, he will be the #1 recruit in the United States in 2 years. He's, probably 6'1", 220 pounds right now, and in 9th grade he ran 11 flat in 100 meters on the track, and he'll probably be a 10-7 kid at 230, 40 pounds in a couple of years, and I don't think anybody else in the country will be like that. With his ability to outmaneuver you too, not just run you over. He's pretty shifty out in the open field. And pretty scary. When he rode by me in pregame, walked by me in pregame, I wasn't real happy about it until I saw the 3 linemen that rode past him right afterwards, and I wasn't real happy about them either. And I turned around and told my kids, y'all go back in the locker room and stay there until they finish running by us, and then we'll come on out. That's kind of where we were this past Friday. But we do have Belle Chasse coming up. Belle Chasse is undefeated. They have played a good schedule for them. They haven't played a lot of tough competition. But they have handled their teams really well. They scored 40, 50 points a game. We played Belle Chasse in the state championship a few years ago, and their quarterback is this quarterback is much like that one. Maybe not as good, but Aspen Gaines, who was Prep Player of the Week, is really talented. He's short, tiny, 5'7", 150 pounds maybe, but he's hard to tackle. Every ball he throws is right where he wants it to go. And we're going to have everything in our power to try to corral him and the speedy receivers in their spread set, which most everybody in high school is doing now. My team, I have a kid that's committed to Mississippi State named Ryan Brown, 6'5", about 245 pounds. He's pretty good. He's playing really well. In fact, with us being banged up, we might start having, talked about today, starting having to get him some tight end reps, because we don't have a really deep roster, and we got hurt a little bit against St. Aug. So he's playing defensive end. He's really good. I got another end that's got, looks just like him, actually. He's about 6'4", 240 pounds himself. Probably not as talented, but has Louisiana Tech and Baylor and schools like that that have offered him. The other end's named Stephen Gibson. His little brother is our quarterback who's in 10th grade, who I think was, in the upper half of the quarterback leaders in the city coming into last week. I don't even know how many yards he threw for last week, but he's got a bunch of touchdown passes. He's young, he's in 10th grade, he's never started before, but he's not afraid of it. He's, he wants to be out there, he wants to make the decision, he wants it to be on him. He's very accurate, which is, in my opinion, the greatest strength of any high school quarterback is decision-making and accuracy, because we've all had them. Those of us who have coached quarterbacks and offense over the years, you watch a guy practice, and probably at every level when you say, wow, look at that guy's arm. And then you go, wow, he can't hit the side of a barn. This one's got a pretty good arm for a young kid, a kid at his strength level and his height and weight, and he's really accurate, and he really has a good understanding of what we want to do and where the ball needs to go. And he's got to get away a little bit from eyeing up our good receiver a little too much, but that's going to come with time. But I'm really pleased where he is, even though he threw a few picks against St. Aug. It was at a point where we couldn't we had lost 2 offensive linemen and couldn't really run the ball anymore, and they were backing off us a little bit, and we were throwing into some coverage, and like I said, really couldn't do a whole lot about it. So that was a little bit disappointing. Hopefully we'll bounce back this week against Belchase. We play at home on Saturday afternoon, which is always good for us because we're used to playing on Saturday and some schools aren't. So any little bit of edge that we can have, we'll take, particularly at this time, as thin as we are and as banged up a little bit as we get, and we'll hopefully get one of our linemen back this week. We know we're not getting one back. We hopefully, maybe by the end of the week, one of them will come back, and that'll be a big help, because as I was looking around the practice field yesterday, I was the best deep snapper because our deep snapper was one of the linemen that got hurt. We put in our backup, who I'm better than, and we practiced, and new guys in deep snap, and at the end of the practice, I was still better than everybody. Deep snapping the ball for punts and extra points. So today, hopefully somebody beats me out, and they can be the second deep snapper. And we've got some backups that we moved in, and we got maybe a tight end that has played offensive line that we moved out, that we can move back in. We're going to have a revolt. We're going to have to bring 75 jerseys to the game. So if anybody's covering the game or doing the game from the press box, good luck. Everybody's going to be in a different jersey, and it's not going to be on purpose. So that's where Archbishop Shaw is now, going into our first district game against Belchase. Hopefully, like I said, we bounce back. We play good on defense. We can manage our snaps and manage our special teams well. We have a chance to win. Things go good for us early in the game. Does anybody have any questions?
Raise your hand.
I'd love to answer a question.
Raise your hand if you have a question.
From anybody from Rummel or Jesuit. Or I would also, if my goal cannot be to work at Rummel or Jesuit, I'm going to put the stripes on and become a referee, because they get to eat every Monday too. So if any referee has a question, I'd be glad to answer.
You used to be a referee.
That's right. Now you're the boss. So.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned having a lot of young kids, and we've had a couple of coaches come to these meetings and talk about young kids. And I'm curious because you don't have time with these kids like college has. So how do you coach these young kids up, other than just trying to get them reps?
I'll tell you what, Paul, in our situation, and it's a very good question, because a lot of us in a lot of schools are playing kids that probably aren't ready to get out there. Just because we don't have, some schools, we're a little smaller than we used to be. In fact, we're about 200 smaller than we used to be in the school. So we don't have, when we were going back to the Dome, we had 88 guys on the team. Now we're in the 60s. So just by numbers, have to put guys out there that really shouldn't be out there yet. Maybe they could be good in a couple of years. We try to get them ready on the off season. We try to get them ready during the summer. We've got the spring game taken away from us. That kind of hurts us a little bit, because you can see young kids in their first action against a different colored jersey in a spring game. We don't have that anymore. So the jamborees and scrimmages are important to get young kids out. Like I said, we missed a Rummel game. That was really important for us for that fact. Our kids need snaps. We have young guys that we play, a sophomore quarterback. We got a couple of young guys in the secondary that hadn't played before, and you can tell. And for our school, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage because we don't have an 8th grade team. Rummel and Jesuit and the bigger schools have an 8th grade team, so they really have 50 seniors. We don't really have that. We only have 30 kids in our entire 8th grade. So maybe 5 of them play football, you know, when they're in 8th grade. So we don't have the 20 or so, 50 guys when they're seniors. We probably only have 5 kids that are like that. And believe it or not, all 5 of those kids are usually pretty good. Whether they were ultra talented when they first got to us or just worked hard and got better over the years, they're usually the best players on the team. And then some schools, Brother Martin now has 7th. Holy Cross has, what, 5th? St. Aug has 6th and 7th. So that's a tremendous advantage to having kids, you know, not unlike Curtis, who has, you know, the elementary school and they play younger kid football. That's a big advantage because when my kids show up in 9th grade, on day 1 we go, this is the buckle, snap it to the helmet. All right, this is the clip, put it in and turn it, pull the strap. That's what we do, and that's all done for those other kids when they're in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So, you know, it's just something we have to deal with and try to get them as many reps as we can.
Anyone else? Raise your hand.
No Rummel, no Jesuit? You're good? When you're winning, you don't have to ask questions. Huh?
There you go, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.